we have a wonderful, wonderful show, and I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving wherever you are. I know some folks couldn't celebrate because they were sick, or they just weren't feeling well, or they couldn't get to places, and I understand that. Those things happen, but you're loved, no matter what, no matter where you are in the world, you're loved. And if you don't have anybody in your life that says, "Hey, I love you," well, you got Bishop Long, "I love you," and so there we go. You're good to go, folks. I am looking at something here very quickly. My humble apologies. I want to remind everybody before we jump into the show, we have a really cool show today. I mean, I am so stoked, and I'm really excited about this. And I want to say hello to all you guys on KGRADB Digital Broadcasting. We're live there. We're live on Facebook, on YouTube, and Twitter, and Spreaker and TikTok. We're live. We're live, and that's the cool part. Now, I want to remind everybody, please don't forget this from the Sunday. Almost forgot. This Sunday, I will be doing a presentation, and I invite you to go to my TikTok, and I'll also put it on Facebook. I'll do a duet video later on tonight. I'll be doing a presentation on demonology and possession this Sunday. It's online, and it's at the University Magicus. And I will put the link there for you, and I'll do a TikTok later on this evening. But I promise you, I will get that done, and I will put that on Facebook or YouTube, and Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. And so I'll do a duet, and I'll upload that everywhere, so you guys can take a look at it and watch. And I'm really looking forward to teaching that class. That should be a lot of fun. Also, really cool, really, really cool. I'm excited about this. I love teaching. I have a master's of education. I used to teach kids with special education, with learning disabilities and behavior disorders, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And so this Monday, I'm going to be doing a lecture on demonology and possession at Ohio University. And I'll be doing that live via Zoom. So that's very, very cool. So I'm excited about doing that class, and that'll be this Monday. Really looking forward to that. Just really, that should be a lot of fun. And so philosophy students, theology students will be there, and they'll get a perspective, from an exorcist perspective, but also, we have ask questions, answer questions. So I'm really excited. I've done it before at University of Louisville, and that was a lot of fun too. Just really, really cool. So Ohio University, I'll be doing that lecture this Monday. Now, I want to remind everybody, don't forget, put it on your calendars, okay? December 12th through the 17th. Okay, December 12th through the 17th. I can't say anything about it because of contract reasons, but I will not be on live that Wednesday for Bible study. I'm sorry. I know it's during Christmas, and I apologize. But I can't be live on that Wednesday, or the Sacred Division on that Friday, on the 17th. I'll be in Los Angeles. The only thing that I can say legally is that I'm going to be filming for a television show. And that's all I can say. I can't really go into details. I don't know when it's going to be airing. It'll air, I don't know, maybe in January, February. I don't know. I just simply don't know. But anyway, it's good. It's a very, very, very cool show. I mean, I'm really excited about it. Again, I can't talk about the details, but I am really excited because, that's all I can say. So December the 12th, I fly out, and then December the 15th is Wednesday, so I won't be able to do Bible study. Now, the only way that I could, and I'll have to talk to the producers about that, is if we're done filming in the evening. Now, if we are, then I can still do Bible study. I don't like it, but it just, again, it depends on the hotel and, their streaming and how strong of a service. And really, truthfully, a lot of hotels, they don't have very good quality as far as, the internet. So let's just do it this way. I know the 17th I won't, because I have to fly out back home on the 17th. But I'll keep you updated. Right now, I'm going to say no. There is a possibility, however, that I could probably do a pre-record, but I'll be filming, I'm sure, at 8:00 on Wednesday. So anyway, let's just call it December 12th to the 17th. Regrettably, I won't be able to do it. Let's just do it that way. It's just easier because I just don't know the schedule. All right. So anyway, there we go. I hope it didn't confuse all of you. So that's a lot of information there, and I apologize, but it's a really exciting show. I'm really looking forward to it. And when I'm able to officially talk about it and promote it, then I'll do that, and I'll tell you all the everything about it. But until then, I gotta kind of be hush hush. Now, I want to also remind everybody, please do me a favor. And for those of you who are on TikTok, thank you so very much for the gifts. I really appreciate that. It's incredibly kind of you. Thanks to my sister and Eddie and her friends, I was able to raise enough money to get to the family. For those of you who know, they were living in Texas. And it's a very violent case. This is a crude, really violent situation. I'm not going to go into details because there could be children watching, and so I got to be careful, But the family was so, I think, traumatized is the best word. They have decided to leave the home in Texas. In essence, they've abandoned their home. Because of what has happened. Now, they are now living in Florida. And I've explained to them, I couldn't get down to there in time, and I explained to them, no matter where you go, if this is an attachment, it's going to follow you. And so we got to fix the problem. But they decided to leave, and I understand that, to go by family. And family lives in Florida. And so they moved to Florida. And the activity is now picking up again. And so, but now it's affecting other people, not just, the family that was in Texas. So now I'm going to have to find time to get down to Florida and to deal with this situation. So I don't know if I'll be able to go down before I fly out, or if this will have to be done on the way back home, which is a possibility. I might be able to do that on the way back home after, I'll go to Los Angeles, and then I can just go to Florida, then come back. I don't know. Anyway, you guys don't want to hear all that complications, but anyway, thanks to my sister Shannon and her friends. And so we're going to kind of push forward and go from there. I'm not going to give too much information as far as the actual destination. And the reason being, I'll just say simply Florida. And here's why. They have worked with teams, paranormal teams, and I'm not going to go into the details of what's going on in the case, but a lot of paranormal teams have taken advantage of this family. And it's disturbing and disgusting what they've done. The paranormal community, some people in the paranormal community, like charging, the team that charged them $4,000. And, this family's not wealthy. But what they're going through is pure hell. And so I'm not going into details as far as where they are, because then people might say, I've heard about this case, or I'm not doing that. So I'll just simply say, shame on the teams, and shame on the individual clergy members who worked these cases for the sole purpose of getting YouTube likes and TikTok views. And so, unfortunately, they have used that for the sole purpose of becoming famous in the media. And not only that, but charging them. And that just really irritates me. That gets under my skin so much. And I understand teams can't do it. I understand teams are not wealthy, that people can't just hop on the plane and go to everywhere in the world. Listen, I know that more than anybody, because I do it by myself. I don't have 15 people that I can say, hey, look, let's all get in a van. Let's all split the cost. It's me. I have James Long, who gets in the car and drives to the destination. So I understand the frustrations sometimes that it takes to be able to get to somebody's home. I get it. more than anybody. I get it. But there's no excuse, none, for a team that was located in Texas to charge the family $4,000 to simply drive 2 hours to get to this family. So that really, really it gives the whole paranormal community a black eye. It does. Now, Ellen Rogers is on watching us on YouTube, and hello there, Ellen. And she is asking us to pray for her brother Jimmy. Jimmy passed away 2 days ago. And so she had asked for prayers for him and his wife and 3 kids. So for Jimmy, we pray that the perpetual light of Jesus shine upon him and grant him eternal rest. And we pray certainly for his wife and 3 kids. And for anybody, of course, just please understand, I know what it's like to lose family. I think most of us do. If you lost a family member, I know, I understand how hard it is, and I understand how painful it is, and I get it. But they are experiencing a joy that we can't even dream about. We can't even. It's not even possible for us to dream the type of joy that they are experiencing right now. And so, just always know that. Always keep that in the back of your mind, and just realize that. Okay. So we have a very, very cool show tonight, and I'm really excited about it, and I think that you're going to really enjoy it as well. I just spoke to her earlier today. Now I don't have her bio because I don't think she was able to send it, but I asked. I talked to her today and said, hey, look, can you join us and chat with us? So, maybe hopefully I'll just speak to her and she can just tell you all about it. But she's my guest tonight is a nurse, and she was an MP, from my understanding, in the military, and she has a lot of stories to talk about regarding haunted locations. I know that many of you probably have had an experience where you've been in a hospital, you might have seen something or heard something. Well, tonight we're going to talk to someone who is actually a nurse, and she has a lot of very cool stories to talk about. I mean, really cool. Now, there is a question that someone is asking, and I'll answer that very quickly. Kelsey is asking the question, Bishop, can you work in the paranormal without messing with the negative stuff? So hold on, she's texting me now. Okay. Here's the problem when you start getting involved in the paranormal. The moment you begin to go into a demonic case or a malevolent case, and it's been reported that it's demonic, then Kelsey, the concern that I have is that once you begin using devices, like a lot of paranormal groups, they're using even this, a simple flashlight. And they're asking if there's any spirit here, can you turn the flashlight on? And then the flashlight will come on by itself. And then they'll say, well, can you turn it off? And then, of course, it turns it off. The problem with that is a form of communication. You're opening a portal. And the moment that you open that portal, that's where it's in trouble. And so, hold on. Sorry, she's sending me questions like, no, I'm on air. I can't talk. So that's the problem, is the moment that you begin using tools to communicate with the spirit world, you may get yourself into some very big trouble. And people do that, and that's where it's dangerous. And people say, well, I don't want to speak to demons. Well, it doesn't matter what you want. Because if in fact you do, that's it. Excuse me. Let me just push this TikTok to the side for a second. There we go. That's the problem. And the moment that you do, that's the moment that you get into some big, big trouble. And then before you know it, now you're making communication with the spirit world, and you don't know who you're speaking to. And that's the dangers that come with doing this. Now, people have asked me all the time, well, I don't want to communicate with the demons. I don't want to communicate. But if you're going to, this is very important. If you're going to a place that allegedly has demonic activity, then you need to really ask yourself, is this the smartest thing that I need to do? Because if you're not prepared, and if you don't know what you're doing, then what are you going to do when you get a response? And I always ask people that, and they seem not to really have a whole lot of great answers. It's like, well, what are you going to do then? So you're going to communicate with the spirit world. Okay, congratulations. Now you've done it, and now a demonic has obviously communicated with you. How are you going to respond? And that is the serious dangers that come with that. And you can't do that. That's very, very dangerous. So that's what I would say to you in response to that. Is there any benefit to being a Catholic as a plod to another religion when working in the area? Well, I have many friends that are of different faiths, and I have even friends that are exorcists of different faiths. And so I'm not going to say that well, my religion is better than yours, because that's something that I just don't believe in doing that, because it's not a competition. This is just my journey and my own spiritual journey. However, for me, the sacraments are very important, and the 7 sacraments, and celebrating the 7 sacraments are important as well. And so I think that for my spirituality, I would never perform a ritual that a rabbi would perform. I'm not a rabbi, and so I have no business to doing that. So I certainly would never do that at all. Hold on. She's okay. Okay, Jennifer, if you're there, please hold on for 1 second. If you're watching, please. Okay. So that's the dangers. That's the dangers that come in with doing this type of ministry. And so the 7 sacraments is something you have to be very careful about. So she's very excited. She's very, very excited. I am on Facebook. Yep. You can go to Bishop James Long, or go to facebook.com/Bishop James Long. And I am on Facebook. Matter of fact, people are watching me right now on Facebook. So, yep, you can go there, or you can simply watch it on YouTube or TikTok or wherever you like. It doesn't matter. So let me try to call Jennifer and see if she can explain maybe her background, because we didn't get it, and so we will go from there. So bear with me for a second. She's calling me and she's excited to get on. I'll tell you that. She's very excited to tell her story, and I'm excited for her, because she wants to express really a lot of things that she's gone through. So we are calling her now, and we're going to get her on air, and she's going to tell you. Remember, she's a nurse. And I'll let her tell her bio, and then she's going to talk a little bit about her story and go from there. Okay, let me call her, and we'll go from there. Okay.
Hi.
Okay.
If using RoboCaller to screen their calls,
Robo.
Your name and the purpose of your call, and I'll try to connect you.
This is Bishop Long. Okay, so yeah, she told me that that there would be a robo killer kind of a thing, and which is pretty cool. It's actually pretty cool, and I like that a lot. I like that. So we'll have to see what she's doing here. Let's see. Okay, hello. Hello. Jennifer, you got to help me out here. Hello.
Hi.
Okay. All right. Yeah. We're live on the air. So I didn't get your bio. So you're gonna have, if you would, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, because we don't have a bio.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you about myself now. My name is Jennifer Saunders, and I have always been interested in the paranormal ever since I was a child. I just felt drawn to it. But as a side point, let me just tell you kind of what I'm about. So I started at a college called Virginia Commonwealth University, studied psychology and criminal justice. Always into, police work, psychology, and stuff like that. Joined the Army in 2006. Went to basic training, got put in a unit. I was stationed up in the Pentagon area. Can't say much more than that. Went to the National Guard. 2008, I went to nursing school, which is what brings us to this haunted hospital episode. So I went to nursing school, and my first job out of nursing school was at a VA hospital. Let me tell you, the second you walk into the VA hospital in Richmond, Virginia, if you're at all in touch with the other side, you feel it. That place is heavy. So I knew, okay, this place is, I knew the minute I went for my interview, okay, this place is cool. I'm going to like it here. So I started working night shifts. Pretty much, I would say week one, I was just feeling weird things. I just knew there was a lot of spirits just lingering the halls. Obviously, the basics. You'd see shadows. The basics. But my first real experience there, I worked in surgery as well as like the post-op center, which was situated right next to the SICU, the surgical ICU. So I was sitting at one of those little computers with the med cart that you can kind of move around and sit at, kind of positioned between our hall and the SICU. And I see someone walk out of the SICU. Mind you, people usually patients that is, don't get up out of the SICU and walk out. So I was like, that's strange. So a little while later, I go in there and I was like, dude, you guys had a patient walk out. What was that all about? And they were like, no, we didn't. What are you talking about? And I was like, yeah, about an hour ago. And they were like, nope, somebody died an hour ago. This person looked as real as you or I looked. Right there in front of my eyes, walked out.
Wow.
So that was it was pretty cool. I mean, to me, it was pretty cool.
So can you tell us a little bit more about your education though? Are you an RN? Are you a nurse practitioner?
Yeah. And I specialize, I've kind of flopped around a lot. Originally, like I said, surgery, cardiothoracic surgery was my specialty.
Wow.
Loved it. And then I got offered a job as a supervisor at, it was kind of like an old age / rehab center. Money was great as a supervisor, so I went there. And then I also took a job at a jail because of my, criminal justice education. And when I was in the Army, I was military police. So
now you said you worked for the Pentagon. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I was an Army military police.
Okay.
Situated in DC, Pentagon area.
Wow.
Basically, that's pretty much what I can say.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. For those of you who are just joining us, because there's a lot of people asking, Jennifer, of course, we're speaking to our friend Jennifer here. She's was an MP and of course now working in the medical field, and she's talking a little bit about her experience working as a nurse in
the hospital and some haunted activity that she experienced, and she's telling a few of her stories that she would like to share with you guys. And so that's what we're talking about today. Now, we're not just talking about that. We're talking about other things as well, but there's a lot of people asking, so tell us what's going on. What's going on? Well, that's what's going on for those of you just joining us. Okay, so go ahead, Jennifer.
Okay. What was I was going to say something. I was on the tip of my tongue, and now I forgot. I know what it was. The thing about hospitals, any type of medical facility, I think all doctors, all nurses have at least at one time or the other seen, heard, felt something, but it's pretty taboo to say anything because, you know, we're supposed to be these educated, blah, 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 and someone starts talking about it, everyone looks at you like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I, on the other hand, I've always been so in touch with that side of me. I always talked about it. So everyone knew me as, the ghost nurse, whatever. So that's just a side note. So if you ask any doctor or nurse, if you sit them down and say, look, tell me the truth, just be straight with me, I guarantee you they have a story of some sort or the other.
Yeah.
So the patient, the patient, ghost, whatever you want to call it, walking out of this ICU, it's just one example. Another, I think it might have been my first day there. This call bell kept going on, and I'm like, what is wrong with this stupid call bell? And the janitor was walking by, and he was like, that room's on it. And I'm like, great. Okay, my first night here. Let me go check it out. And I walked down. It's all the way at the end of the hall, and nobody was in there. So I'm like, this is like a movie. Call bells going off. I hit the button in the room to turn the call bell off. Walk out. It keeps happening. Walk back in. Bathroom light is on this time. It's just, I'm like, somebody is punking me. This is not happening. This has got to be a joke. But everybody I ask, they're like, yeah, that room, that call bell goes off. That room, something's up at that room. So that was my introduction to the VA, heaviness, spiritual side of it. But I think probably the coolest story that I had there, the coolest experience, there was a man, and he was dying. He was, I can't remember what it was from, but he had just a few days left. So he kept saying to me, please, please, Jennifer, I just want to make it to my birthday. Just wanted to make it to my birthday. So this was like 2 days before his birthday. I worked night shift. So, he coded. He died, basically. And I ran in there, and I was like, not today. You're making it to your birthday. So CPR, I got him back pretty quick. And I was like, man, you almost didn't make it to your birthday. And he was obviously kind of out of it, but he was like, wow, thank you. After a few minutes, whatever. So I went home, and I went home then, obviously, at midnight, his birthday hit. So he survived his birthday. Oh, wow. The next night, I am not even exaggerating a little bit, 12:01, 1 minute after his birthday, wow. This man passed away. So he waited, and from then until the time that I quit that job, the call bell would go off almost every night at 12:01.
Now,
room.
hold on. Now, the call you're saying the call bell, that's the button that the patients would push to get the nurse's attention?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Whether there was a patient in the room or not, 12:01, that thing would go off. And it got to be where it was kind of like, just accepted 12:01. There it goes again. But I thought that was really neat, and I think that was his way of kind of thanking us to say, "Hey, thanks for letting me make it through," because his family was coming down for his birthday, and I think he was saying thanks for keeping me alive. I could see my family, because I swear he actually had coded on the toilet of all places, and I threw him on that floor and pounded on his chest and got him back, and
Wow.
I think he was just like, thanks, I made it through my birthday.
Let me ask you, because I have, my sister Shannon Long 30, she's on TikTok. My mom was in the medical field, and she would absolutely tell us that during the full moon, it was always crazy. From your experiences, is that really true?
I used to think it was, and then I started to realize that it was in my head that pretty much every night is crazy.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's just where I've worked and it's just always crazy. But my husband's a police officer, and he never really said he felt it was different with a full moon. But a lot of people did, and a lot of people would be like, "Oh God, it's a full moon tomorrow. I'm calling out."
You know what?
Maybe that's why it's crazy. Everybody called out sick.
Well, Jennifer, of course, thank you, your husband, for being a police officer. I was a police chaplain for a pretty large city, and I got to tell you, when I was when I was a chaplain, and when it was always the joke. It must be a full moon, because the things went crazy. It seemed like every single time there was a full moon, no matter what time of the year it was. So,
like something happened, and so many people say that. And every night when I would go to work, I've always worked night shift, and I'd see the full moon. I'm like, okay, it's going to be crazy. And I even to this day, but I've never really felt it to be any crazier than any other shift.
Okay.
Now, I've always worked really crazy. I've never really had kind of a calm nursing job. So that could be it. But I know the majority of my coworkers, the majority of my friends that are police officers or EMS always do say that.
Yeah.
But I really haven't felt that it is the case.
Okay, that's fair. Well, let me ask you also, there are a lot of people, there are a lot of people in the medical field, nurses, doctors, that will speak to their patient, and their patient was clinically dead. And my question for you then is, have you ever had a patient that was actually clinically dead and then came back and told you what they saw?
I have not had that.
Okay.
I have not had that. I've had patients who are dying. They've got like 24 hours. They have about 24. I can actually smell it when a patient's got about 24. They I think, start to release a gas, and they smell very. I don't know if you've ever smelled diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
They smell kind of like that, like a sickly kind of sweet smell. So I always know they've got about 24 hours. And a lot of them say a family member is there waiting with them, or the angels are there. And a huge number of patients, even if I'm not suspecting them to pass, lay in bed with their arms just up in the air, like
Wow.
they're like they know, and they're just waiting, because a couple of guys have done that, and I'm like, and I've known that they're not DNRs, and one guy.
Oh no! Whoa!
Whoa!
Hold on. We're talking about a lot of abbreviations. For people who are listening, what is a DNR?
Oh, do not resuscitate.
Okay.
So that means if they are a DNR and they pass, you don't do anything.
Okay.
But if they're full code, you do CPR, you do everything you can to keep them alive.
Okay.
So I remember specifically one guy was doing it all day, and I got the doctor, and I'm like, look, I think this guy's probably going to code. And sure enough, he did. And the doctor, we did everything we could, but unfortunately we couldn't get him back.
Let me ask you, has there ever been an experience where you worked in the hospital, where you've been in the hospital, where it frightened you in a negative way? I mean, obviously anybody who works especially at nighttime, obviously if this bell is ringing,
right,
the patient's bell is ringing and there's no patient in that room, that probably would be unnerving to anybody. But has there ever been an experience when you worked in the hospital where something happened and you're like, no, this is not good and I don't want it to happen ever again?
I have.
Okay.
I worked at it was after I left the VA, when I was supervisor at the nursing home, and I don't know this for a fact, but the rumor was it had been an orphanage that it had burned down, and enough patients would claim there was a black cat that would come in their room, as well as a dead child standing at the foot of its bed staring at it or out the window. And a lot of that you can kind of discount because they're elderly. Some of them have Alzheimer's. But on the rehab side of the floor, there was a couple months this happened a lot. I remember one time this man kept saying, "Who is that behind you? Who is that behind you?" And I'm like, it's nobody. And he pointed, he goes, "He's right behind you." And I mean, cold chills. I was like, I'll be back. I left the room. But there was one specific day. It was, I don't know what was going on, but patients all night had been saying there were dead looking children standing at the foot of the bed staring at them. A black cat on their bed. Get this cat out of here. What is going on? Patients were upset and agitated. And this was actually 7 a.m. during shift change. Up and down the hall, patients started screaming, "There's a ghost in here. There's a dead child. There's a ghost." And it went from one room to the next room to the next room.
Okay, but let me ask you a question, because I got to interject. A lot of naysayers and a lot of skeptics are going to say, "Well, hold on, Nurse Jennifer, listen. You were in a hospital.
Right.
They were on medication. They were obviously all They were all hallucinating." How would you respond to that objection?
For every single patient in the ward to be complaining all night of this cat on their bed and seeing the same exact apparition.
Yeah.
I just can't discount the fact that, like the entire hallway.
That's right. Yeah.
And some of them weren't even on heavy medications, but I had 2 CNAs that had just come on shift, and they quit. They walked out. They said, "We're done. We're done with the ghost children. We're done with the ghost cat," and both of them quit.
Wow.
So that was pretty unnerving for everyone. That was pretty creepy. And a lot of it really can be, stuff like that can be discounted, especially with Alzheimer's. But then again, you have to wonder, like, how many patients are just getting written off as, they're just old. They just think they see it. So that's one thing, and I know you and I have talked about it with demonology and mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where do you draw the line? What is mentally ill and what is possession? So that's become a big interest of mine lately since I've been studying demonology, trying to figure out how do you help someone and how do you discern whether, are they mentally ill or is a demon messing with them? So in the hospital, it's easier to say, oh, it's just the meds they're on, and probably a good amount of it is, patients are on some, especially in the surgical floor, on some pretty heavy meds. But stuff like a call bell going off the same time every night, things like that, you can't really chalk that up to meds or patients not being with it, especially when you keep going down to the room, and it's to the point where it's like, this is really freaking annoying me because I have work to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there were a couple of times where I'm like, stop ringing the call bell, whoever's in here, dude. I have work to do. And it actually worked.
Well, let me ask you this. For those of you who are just joining us again, I'm speaking to Jennifer. Jennifer is a nurse, and she's talking about her experience as a nurse within the hospital, her haunted experiences, paranormal experiences, if you will. And someone was asking, I think Daniel was asking the question, something about. Hold on one second. I'm going to go up. And there's a lot of nurses saying, yep, what you're saying. Bishop, do you ever fear for your own safety? I don't fear for my own safety because I don't fear death. And so I fear for the people who might be possessed, because obviously, but we'll talk about that a little bit later after the show, or after I interview Jennifer. But no, I don't fear for my own safety. However, I do fear for the people, again, who are under possession. Now, someone was asking the question, and this is a good question. Have you ever experienced anything in the hospital where you actually have felt it was demonic in nature?
I have not.
Okay.
I had a really good friend who, and she was the one I had hoped I could get her on here with me. She said, that she did. She said a woman turned just the face, the eyes. She said when she touched her arm, it felt like the woman's skin was like dripping off. And before she was a nurse, she was a minister. So she's very in touch with her spiritual side and would be a good one to recognize things like that. And she was scared. She actually came to me crying over it. She was sobbing. She was so upset. I have not experienced anything demonic, and luckily I don't really get scared of ghosts or paranormal per se. I've been in a house. I lived in a house before I moved down to Miami Beach in Richmond, Virginia, that was on an old Civil War battlefield, and sometimes that house felt very creepy. And when my husband would be working late, sometimes I would bring my dog up into my bedroom and shut the door and wouldn't go downstairs. Just felt, that just not quite scared, but not quite okay, because I've done so many I'm on a team, an
Mhm.
investigation team down here called Prism, and I'm never, knock on wood now, I'm never scared. I feel more like I'm interacting with, it's like an interaction with a human, but it's not a human. So I don't, the day at the hospital when all the patients were screaming,
Yeah.
and the 2 CNAs quit, I think if it wasn't so chaotic and I wasn't trying to get control of my unit, and I'm like, great, two people just quit, every single patient is flipping out. I think if I had time to, if I hadn't been the supervisor, I probably would have been a little scared at that point. But I had to go into oh crap mode. I gotta get this place under control because it's falling apart quick. The one time the man said to me, he's standing right behind you, that creeps me out. That was a little bit.
But is it possible?
Just the way he said it and pointed it.
But is it possible? Okay, but is it possible that he might have been hallucinating? Was he close to death?
Totally.
Okay, that's fair.
It totally could have been.
Okay.
100%. But it was in one of the rooms where the call bell would go off.
Oh.
It was the first room the janitor had told me about.
Okay.
And he wasn't one of the patients that was on a heavy amount of pain medicine. He was lucid, and just the way he said it, sometimes there's just a tone in somebody's voice where you're like, oh, something's not good right now. So I was like, I'll be right back. And I think I went and got another nurse to come in with me to finish doing what I was doing. But that was kind of spooky.
Yeah.
And when patients would tell me they saw little dead children, and knowing it had been an orphanage, and as many patients that had told me that was unnerving as well. It was more, I guess, sad than anything. But there was a wing where it was a lot of Alzheimer's patients too.
Mm. Okay.
But that wing actually didn't say they saw the dead children. It was more the rehab center. They would come after surgery and recuperate. Alzheimer patients, anything they say, it's really hard to take. I just take that at surface value.
Sure.
Because, that's really all you can do. Which is kind of sad because somebody could have been at one of the woman's windows trying to steal her jewelry. It's
right.
It's like, where do you draw the line between, and most nurses wouldn't feel this way because they're not so deep into paranormal as I am, but part of me does kind of think that, it will always cross my mind, no matter how many meds they are on, how much Alzheimer's they have. It does always cross my mind. Could this possibly be more to it than their disease or their medication?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to run because we got some other things we have to run into, but I really appreciate you taking the time and chatting with us and telling us some of your stories.
Thank you. This was so much fun.
Yeah, well,
thank you for having me. Great.
Next time we'll definitely have you and your friend on. We'll do a conference call and we'll share some really cool stories.
Well, listen, if you ever want to do one on haunted barracks, haunted barracks, military barracks.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I got some really good stories about that.
Well, let's definitely do that next time. Absolutely. And where can people go to find you?
I am Jennifer Twisdale, Twisdale, Saunders, Saunders, and that's on Facebook. On Instagram, I am Yankee Jenjen, YANKEEJENJEN. And
Okay.
yes, I am a New York Yankees fan.
That's all right. That's all right. That's good.
So please, hit me up. I love to chat to anybody about this kind of stuff.
Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for jumping on tonight. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great night.
Oh, you too. Bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, everybody, that was our friend, Jennifer, and that was she really cool. And I really appreciate her taking the time to chat with us about that. That was very nice of her to do that. She was an MP for the military, and then of course got her nursing license, and she of course taught about some of the haunted, paranormal activity that she experienced in nursing homes and the hospitals. Pretty cool. It's interesting that a lot of people I'm also seeing on TikTok, a lot of people are saying, I'm a nurse and I experienced the same thing. And so it's really cool that a lot of people are experiencing that and confirming that. Again, her name is Jennifer Twisdale. That's TWISDALE, D as in dog, DALE, Saunders, SAUNDERS. So it's probably going to be very easy to find on Facebook because there's not a lot of people with named Jennifer Twisdale Saunders. So she's very approachable, cool person, friend of mine. And, she's on Prism also with the paranormal group. So she loves the paranormal and she's a believer, but she's also, she's very analytical. And what I liked about her is that not everything was paranormal. You know what I mean? There are some people that think everything is either a paranormal event or everything is demonic. But just when I asked, is it possible that they could have been absolutely hallucinating? So I like that. I really do, because she acknowledges the fact, she takes it from a medical perspective, as well as her own personal perspective. And she talked about even paranormal hotspots within the military world. And so we'll definitely have her on again. I promise you we will. And so that'd be pretty cool. And hello there from all you guys. A lot of people said from Ireland, from England, from Belgium, from United States. Hello to all you guys. I really do appreciate all of you being here. I promise you, I'm not ignoring your question. It's just normally when I'm in a conference call like that, I try to focus on what the person is saying and asking questions and interacting. And sometimes when I look down, I can kind of grab a question or two. And so I do. I ask that. Well, Patrick asked a question here from TikTok. You should talk to those who work in prisons, especially the ones that used to be in mental hospitals. Well, you are speaking to someone who was a chaplain, and I actually served. I've been to several hospitals, including the mental ward in the hospitals, as well as prisons. And so I'm very, very familiar with people with extreme mental illness in the prison system. Matter of fact, I will tell you one very quick story. There was a gentleman, I'll just say he was in Kentucky. I'm not going to tell you what prison he was in, or he is in. But he was suffering from paranoid schizophrenia. He's a big man. A really big man. But you would never know. If you ever met him, you would never, ever think that he was violent. He is a big, soft teddy. Just a teddy bear. He's one of those guys that loves to hug, and he's always smiling and just was so unbelievably kind. And when the priest that I went to with this one, I was in the seminary when I met him, and the priest told me, he said, don't be deceived. So what do you mean? He couldn't do that bad. This guy was really, honest to God, he was one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. And the priest told me, the father told me, he said, listen, James, you need to, keep an arm's distance from him. Although he is nice and he's very sweet, he was at his home, and a sheriff had come to his home to serve papers just papers. He wasn't in trouble. It wasn't in like, okay, like papers, you're going to be arrested. Because he suffered from a mental illness, and it was paranoid schizophrenia. And so the sheriff was doing a welfare check as well, and also just serving papers to him from the court just to make sure he's doing okay and does he need anything, that kind of thing. And the sheriff walked up the stairs. The patient in that case busted out of his door with a shotgun and shot this sheriff and killed him. I mean, just one blast. And the reason is he did that is because he said that when he saw the sheriff, he did not see the sheriff. He always kept referring to the sheriff as the devil. So they kept saying, no, that was a sheriff. And he said, no, this was the devil. I mean, he was the devil. I mean, he was absolutely adamant that this sheriff was not the sheriff. And the sad part about it is he knew this sheriff. He knew this, I should say deputy. He knew this deputy. And it wasn't like they didn't know each other. They did. But when this deputy walked up to his porch, he didn't see the deputy at all. He saw what he thought that the deputy was a demon that was coming in to try to harm him. And he was trying to defend himself and his family, and just absolutely, and shot him, killed him. He's serving life, but he truly believed in his mind that this deputy was, and again, they knew each other. I mean, it wasn't like they didn't know. They did. They knew each other. But if you sat across from him and you talked to him, I mean, you just thought, you thought he would be the one of the nicest people you've ever would know. And never did, in that conversation that I had with him, it was about a half an hour, 40 minutes or so. We talked to him. Never did he show any type of signs of paranoia. Now, he was on medicine too. But it was just very interesting. That was very interesting. Now, I also, what if the officer was possessed? Well, the officer wasn't possessed at all. He showed that there was no signs of possession. I mean, he was a very devout Christian man. And so there was never, ever any type of reports of the deputy being possessed at all. He's just the individual who shot him suffered from paranoid schizophrenia. And that's what he saw. I mean, he saw and the thing is, you have to understand again, the patient in this case knew this deputy. I mean, they were friends, and never, ever did he behave violently towards this deputy. Never. And so that's what happened. Terrible, a terrible story, but unfortunately it did happen. Now, I also sat across the table from several individuals. Now, one individual was a serial killer, and this individual, the only way, I mean, the things he did, I'm not going to go into detail because, again, I don't know if kids are watching. Women were his victims. I think that's all we need to say. And the way he described it, it was so cold. Not literally, but there was no emotion. And we're talking things that really truly nightmares are made of. Okay, we're talking about the scariest movies you can possibly think of. This man did to his victims. But it was like the way he was telling the story, because he admitted what he did, is, well, yeah, it was like him telling how to make a peanut butter jelly sandwich. Yeah, I walked into the kitchen and grabbed some bread, and then I put some peanut butter and jelly on it, and then I put it together, and then I grabbed another slice. There was no emotion. There was never, the only time there was ever any, and a slight emotion is when he discussed after what he did and then how it made him feel. And he would always just relieved. That was he kept saying relieved. I mean, relieved of what? Did you know these? No, nope, didn't know Didn't know him from Adam. I mean, just again, he went right back to the monotone, stoic, robotic voice. But after he expressed what he did, and then you would talk about it was very narcissistic. I mean, he was sadistic. I mean, this individual was extreme sadistic, but that was pretty bone chilling. I mean, that was an uncomfortable experience. Now, I didn't, of course, then at that time, because that would have been completely inappropriate. I didn't test for demonic attachment or anything, because obviously I didn't want him to go into, if there was a demonic, I didn't want to go into possession. But at that time, I was still in training, so I had no business even thinking about doing something like that. But the fact that I was able, it's hard to interview somebody like that when you yourself have empathy for people, and you listen to the things that they describe and how nonchalant. And in my mind, the whole time I was thinking, I just couldn't get the imagery out of my mind of the things that he was saying. And it was just terrible. It was terrible. It was no question, psychopath. Yeah, Jackie says psychopath. It was extreme psychopath. I mean, it was, oh man, it was terrible. But I just kept visioning in my mind the things that he was describing. And I just kept imagining that person, that victim, and what was going on in their mind. I'm thinking, I just wanted to really just reel into him. How dare you? Didn't you even take in consideration of this person and this person and family, and this person, it was someone's daughter, for God's sakes, and you're doing these things to this person. I wanted to really but I knew that wouldn't have been appropriate, because obviously this is a person who is psychopathic and dangerous. And so I was there just to listen. And that's what I did. I don't know, I don't know if he was possessed, or if this was just, if this was a true mental illness situation, as being that very sadistic, narcissistic, psychopathic. I mean, we can go into all kinds of terminology, but there was just no emotion. I mean, there was nothing there. There was just nothing, except for when he talked about how he was relieved after, and I'm not talking about, I'm talking about the violence, what he did, the violent acts, what he did, and how after he, for example, decapitated someone, that he felt relieved after that, is what I'm talking about. Terrible. So anyway, that's that. Well, I appreciate that Lynn Scott 7 is asking me to go on live on TikTok. I can't go live on TikTok with folks, and the reason being is because I have run the show also on StreamYard via to Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and other places, and they can't hear you. So I won't be able to. Unfortunately, we can't connect TikTok to the StreamYard because they don't allow it. But hopefully one day they will. Hopefully they certainly will. Yeah, the Ted Bundy, the Bundy tapes were very informative. That's absolutely true. That's very, very true. I had the opportunity. There was an individual, and we all know Edward or John Wayne Casey. And so Gacy was a very sick individual, very, very sick individual, and so we know that he did terrible, terrible things. But there was an individual who called The Last Victim, and his name was Jason Moss. I don't know if you guys know the story. I actually had the opportunity to speak to Jason, and Jason Moss pretended to be a person who was interested in Gacy, and became fairly good friends with him. When Gacy had already been arrested, he was in prison, already been found guilty, all this stuff. And Jason then decided to reach out to Gacy, because he had done this to several other serial killers, not just John Wayne Gacy, but the Night Stalker or some other people who were just really serial killers, because he wanted to get into their heads to find out what was going on. And he wrote a book called The Last Victim by Jason Moss. And I had the opportunity to speak to him. And Jason had befriended John Wayne Gacy and pretended to be somebody. Again, he was interested in, that kind of thing. And he fed into Gacy's delusions. And so Gacy and him became good friends. He even went to visit Gacy in the prison system several times. And at one time, Jason said that, and this is what he said, is that Gacy was able to kind of pay off some people and to look the other way. And he cornered Jason and was threatening to do terrible things to him, to rape him. And that he talked him out. He talked him out of, and he described Gacy as having this complete different look. I mean, like a kind of like a different glazed look came over his eye. It's interesting because John Wayne Gacy told Jason that you're going to commit suicide. He told him this. Well, unfortunately, Jason got very heavy into the psychopaths world. Dahmer, he had contacted Dahmer. I mean, he was getting to some serious heavy hitters here. I mean, really bad people, and communicating with them, and they would communicate back. And unfortunately, he did commit suicide, and Jason did, which was the terrible thing because, but he didn't. I think the FBI at one time, or CIA, somebody, I forgot what, they were contacted. They did some type of, I think, a documentary, and they said he really didn't have an exit strategy. And what they were referring to is when you're dealing with people who are psychopaths, who truly are mentally ill, extreme. I mean, we're talking, John Wayne Gacy and Dahmer, that you have to, when you try to enter their world, you have to be able to find some type of exit strategy, meaning you're going to have therapy afterwards because you're going to suffer from PTSD. I mean, these people bring you into their craziness, into their crazy, chaotic life. And it's very, very easy to get lost there. And it's easy to then start suffering from depression and other thoughts because you can't obviously get some of these thoughts out, of things that they did. Just like that one guy that I spoke to, that I was talking about, the psychopath. I mean, just, I couldn't stop thinking about the things that he was saying. And just, it was just it was, oh yeah, did this and did that. And I mean, it was just so nonchalant, like nothing. There was nothing, no emotion. And I'm, like I said, I'm envisioning these horrible things that this person did. So yeah, it is. That's right. Monsar is asking like a deprogramming thing. It truly is. You do have to kind of be deprogrammed after you enter into this psychosis, and but it's dangerous. It's he did actually do it for school. He was it was a class that he was in, and then first the instructor really wasn't too. He wasn't too eager about it because he thought it was just wasting his time, but when Gacy then began to interact with Jason, and it was very clear that Gacy was grooming him. And so because Gacy had a pretty terrible experience with his father. John Wayne Gacy's father was very abusive, verbally and physically. And then Jason began to start talking about his experience and with his father and that kind of thing. And that he thought that would kind of grab Gacy's attention, which it did, because then Gacy immediately knew, oh, good, I can prey on this victim. I can prey on this issue. And that's what he did. It was horrible, but this is John Wayne Gacy, for goodness sakes. Okay. Let's see. Aliens, as the second some are possessed, dark and attached to them. Also can have evil. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, have evil. And hello, for all of you guys who are, if you're just joining us, hello. I appreciate you guys being here. We just had a very fantastic guest on. I really do appreciate her. Her name is Jennifer Saunders, and she's a nurse. And she talked about her experience, her haunted experiences within the hospitals. And I got to tell you something. That was some really, really creepy stuff. There's several stories. Let me share a couple of them with you before we wrap this section up, and then go into our really very cool
articles that we have for you. But listen to this, the vanishing girl. I have heard a lot of people in the hospital say that they have seen this. And I'm telling you that a lot of people swear that this occurs. And for those of you who might be in the medical field, you're probably saying, yep, it absolutely does. There's no question about it. Again, it's entirely up to you what you think. But this is from the Thought Catalog. And this is what it says here. This person says, I was a nurse at our hospital and only been working there a couple of months. I brought a patient of mine up to date from surgery from the ER for a procedure, and they called back down and asked me to bring her family up because she only spoke Italian, not enough English, and they needed someone to consent for the procedure. So after dropping them off, I walked past the waiting room, head back down the hall to the elevators. I took the back way to get to the ER, and the hallways all are deserted. It used to be a pediatric wing to the hospital, but that's all shut down for years. And the rooms are just empty, full of broken equipment and beds. So anyway, she says, as I reached the old nurse's station at the T-junction between the pediatric hallway and the hallway that goes to the elevators, I saw a little girl standing across the nurse's station further down the hall. She had pigtails, was wearing a brown dress, white shoes, holding a teddy bear. I thought perhaps she was a family member who had walked away from the day surgery waiting room. I was concerned that she would go into one of the rooms and get hurt. So I said to, hey, little girl, what are you doing? You don't need to be over there. You're going to get hurt. And as I walked around the nursing station to grab her hand and bring her back, she vanished. And as I got about 15 feet away from her, every hair in my body stood up straight. And I turned and ran like a bat out of heck down to the elevator. I pounded the button for what seemed like an eternity until the elevators got to the floor. As I got back to the ER, I walked up to the nurse's desk, white as sheet, and one of the older nurses looked at me and said, what is wrong with you? I remember babbling like an idiot as I tried to tell them what happened. And after listening to me for a moment or two, the nurse said, oh, you saw the little girl ghost. She's been around here for years. And I remember saying, well, thanks for telling me about it before this. Apparently, the ghost has been seen down the ER, ducking in and out of patients' rooms and peeking around curtains. He says, my wife worked on the 7th floor, and she said that one time on nights, a whole row of patients' rooms started yelling about a little girl that was running around in the room. This is exactly what Jennifer told us, the experience that she had. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, really, can you imagine that this little girl, a whole row of patients were saying this little girl here keeps coming in and out of the room and disturbing? That would be crazy. That would be really, really crazy. Armando Casas in TikTok says I've talked to a satanic priest who worked for the cartel before. My goodness, that would be. I've had the opportunity to speak to people who are satanic priests, or satanic. I don't even want to word satanic priest and use those two combined, but satanic, minister or whatever. But for the cartel, that would be dangerous stuff. I mean, really, it's dangerous stuff dealing with Satanism, period. But, obviously, when you're working for the cartel, that's a different, you got some things going. You got two major things going on. You're obviously working for Satanism and working for a very violent group of individuals. I don't know. Well, great. Well, hello there, Chris. I appreciate you from the UK. Yeah, been on Ghost Adventures. Yep. And so again, I want to remind all of you guys, remember December 12th through the 17th, just to make sure we're not leaving yet. December 12th to the 17th, I will not be on air. So make sure you remember that Wednesday and that on that 17th, on that Friday, I won't be doing the Sacred Division. I'll be in Los Angeles filming for a television show. And so there we go. So now I won't be there. So, and I'll remind you. Don't worry about that. I'll definitely remind you. This is an interesting article that I saw the other day, and I want to share this with you because I want to see what you guys think about this. But HiggyPop.com is the name of this website that I found this on, and I got to tell you, I think the answer is yes. And here's what I mean: do night vision cameras capture paranormal activity that the human eye can't see? Well, I think yes, because I've done paranormal investigations before, and I've used night camera, and the night camera was able to pick up some things that I could not see with my eyes. But listen to this very quickly. It's a really, really cool article. Despite the fact that the vast majority of sightings of apparitions occur in broad daylight, which is true, many paranormal investigations take place in the dark. The problem is you can't see anything in the dark. So ghost hunters use night vision video cameras to compensate. It's often said that night vision lets you see things that aren't visible to the human eye, but how true is this claim? Well, it's not as straightforward as a yes or no answer, says the author. Now, if we exclude paranormal activity for now and just concentrate on the more accepted science of this type of video camera, then the answer is no. Night vision doesn't reveal anything that the human eye can't see. The reason behind this is because the cameras work in the exact same way as our eyes. Light hits an object, it reflects off of it and into the lens and is captured on a sensor. The same is true for our eyes. The light enters through the pupil and it hits the retina. Obviously, we can't see in total darkness, and neither can a regular camera. All cameras need light. And in this case, the night vision cameras, the light source is an infrared light. It usually this is either built into the camera itself or an external IR illuminator. True. Now, the light is invisible to the human eye, but works in the same way as an invisible light or visible light does. The light from the infrared light source hits the object, reflects off and into the camera's lens. When switched to night vision mode, the camera ignores visible light, but becomes sensitive to infrared light only. So the question is can you capture a ghost on camera? Well, if we start thinking about the paranormal and night vision cameras specifically, then things get a little bit more theoretical and certain. It's hard to know for sure how a ghost might be captured on camera, but we can use logic to try to understand the situation. I got to tell you something, and thank you very much. That's it. Charles put it on YouTube. I got to tell you something. I am convinced. I have seen night vision cameras pick up an object, a human apparition, full body human apparition, and then they were able to switch it to the regular vision and you can't see it. You can't. Now, there are some people who debate this thing. And again, as the author just said, you just simply don't know. There's not, but I have personally used a night vision camera and I have caught a really interesting evidence using a night vision camera versus just a regular camera. Now, of course, people say, well, of course, because a regular camera, you're not going to be able to see in the dark. Well, there are some places where they do have some light that you can see and they just simply didn't capture it. But I'd be really curious about, for those of you in the paranormal community, if you are a paranormal investigator, have you experienced the type of night vision? And would you say, yep, night vision absolutely is the way to go? Now, there are some people say you have to only investigate at night. That's not true. It's just simply not true. There's this belief that at nighttime, at certain nighttime, that's the only time you can do it. Guys, I have investigated during the day. I've investigated at night. I've investigated in so many different hours. And I can tell you from my experience as an investigator, I've been investigating. My first time was 35 years at Waverly Hills. I can tell you that I have caught just as much evidence during the day as I have during night. As a matter of fact, when I went to Waverly Hills 35 years ago, and I actually investigated, that was during the day when I was walking through Eastern Cemetery. And I was just, hello, how are you? Do you know who I am? And remember, I played that EVP that said Seth. Well, that's a Class A EVP. That was during the day. So I have caught in EVPs are electronic voice phenomenon. It's on a digital recorder. And so I personally have seen it. Some people swear by it. Some people say, nope, you have to do it. You have to do it at night. I don't know. You can consider it however you feel, but I don't know. I think it's the nighttime and daytime. I really don't think you have to do either or. I really don't. Okay. What's some questions? Okay. Well, Matt says, how do you keep evil spirits away from you? Well, Matt, I got to tell you, the one thing you don't do is you never do anything that's going to invite it. That's number one. That's the most important thing. You don't ever do anything that's going to invite. So, and what I mean by that is if you're going and playing with the Ouija board, and I know some people say, oh, the Ouija board, I'm telling you, whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not, the Ouija board is a portal that you open in which you make communication with the spirit world. The problem is you don't know who you're communicating with. And you could truly be communicating with something that's very violent. And so I tell people all the time, stay away from it. Just simply don't do it. And that's what I would do. I would just stay away from doing anything that would cause communication with the spirit world. Just don't do it. And then you shouldn't have any issues at all. And that's really the best advice. Because if you go to a place, if you investigate and it's allegedly has demonic or malevolent spirits that are present, well, then you can't be surprised if you're going to get a response. And the response could be very violent. And so, and it may not be violent then, but it could be very violent later. So just simply don't do it. It's just anything. Look, anything. I could use my phone. This phone right here. As a matter of fact, people do, because there are paranormal apps that you can download on your phone. And I have a couple that I think that are pretty cool. I'm not going to promote them until I speak to the owner of the apps, and I know a lot of people who do make these apps. A lot of apps are junk. A lot of these are just simply for entertainment. But there are some apps that I've used personally that are pretty interesting. But you can use your phone, this phone right here, as a communication tool to the spirit world. Any type, but you have to understand that and people don't like when I say this, but there is no other, you can't sugarcoat it. Anything that you use to make communication with the spirit world is a portal. You are opening that portal via the object. I could use this pack of gum right here, this green gum. I could use this as a portal. I could simply put it on the table and then ask the spirit to move the gum. That you're opening up. And the thing is, you don't know who's coming through. Now, what I always do, if I ever do an EVP session, which I do a lot, again, I use a digital recorder. I have some digital recorders that I prefer over others. And I will always do a blessing first. I do a blessing over the recording, and I do a blessing prior, and then I do preliminary questions. So what I say as a Christian, this is coming from a Christian's perspective, I say, do you confess that Yahweh is your God? Yahweh is the Hebrew name for God. Do you confess, or do you kneel before the cross of Christ? Do you confess that Jesus is your personal Lord and Savior? And I always do these preliminary questions first. I always try to do at least 3. And very interesting. I got an EVP, a Class A. It was so clear. I say, do you confess that Yahweh is your God? And the EVP said, hell no. Now, it was unbelievably so clear, just like, it was Class A. There are 3 classes, Class A, B, and C. Class A is when you can hear it, just like you can hear my voice now. It's that perfect. As far as that clear, I should say. Class B, it's distorted, but you can still make it out. In Class C, you know that there's something there, but it's having a hard time deciphering what it is. This was Class A. Now, of course, I knew this was also a demonic case. This was a demonic situation, and it was known to be very, very demonic in nature, and it was. And so I knew what I was dealing with. So, it's very clear, but you got to understand, anything that you use to speak to the spirit world could cause problems. Kel says, I use something that someone uses and I don't want to use it no more. Yeah, you got to be careful with it, because there are dangers. There's dangers that come along with paranormal investigating, whether you like it or not. Okay. Oh, good. Excellent. Well, yeah. For those of you who are asking about the bracelets, and for those of you who purchase your bracelets, I have sent it out to you. And you always, by the way, I always not TikTok, PayPal. Once I go into ship mode and I ship it, you get a tracking number. So everybody gets a tracking number. But you can go to Bishop James Long, bishopjameslong.com. bishopjameslong.com, and you can pick up you can go click on the store link. These are really cool. I just got these in, and a lot of people are really liking them. These are leather bracelets. You can see there's nothing here, and that's because they come with 4 different faces that you can just clamp onto it. It's really cool. This is the Benedictine. A lot of people, Saint Benedict is the patron saint for exorcist. And so you can clamp this on, and now you have a Benedictine bracelet. If you like, and you're obviously a supporter of Saint Michael, they also have a Saint Michael face. And here's the Saint Michael. And you can clamp this onto your bracelet as well. And then they have a Jesus, and they also have a Mary. So what I really love about that is you can choose 4 different faces instead of just buying one bracelet. And the people are like, well, why are you selling this? Well, because number 1, I am clergy. Number 2, I don't get paid for being clergy. This is 100% free. And I fund my own ministry. I never charge. And so when someone comes to me and says, hey, look, we need some help. Can you come to my home? Well, I pay for that out of my own pocket. So flying to a different state, staying at the hotel, getting a rental car, that's expensive. You're easily over $1,500 would go very simple, easy, especially if I have to stay, 3, 4, 5 days. So, and I don't charge ever, never have. And that's what I do. And that's why I have an online store. So if you like, you can go to bishopjameslong.com. I also have a lot of sage. My friend Becky made these. They're amazing. Yes, I do believe in sage because number 1, my grandmother was Native American, so I definitely believe in sage. And also we talked on one show, there are some really great benefits, health benefits for saging as well. So just click on the bishopjameslong.com and you can purchase yours today, and I'll send it out to you. Okay. Yep. JC, you can, if you'd like just to make a donation to the ministry, again, go to bishopjameslong.com and just scroll down to the bottom. And there are several type of ministries you can donate to. My single moms ministry that I help single mothers who leave an abusive relationship. I also, my ministry where I go out to people's homes and help folks, you can donate there. So feel free to do that. I would certainly appreciate it. And so would the people that you're helping. Again, I don't get paid for being clergy. I fund my own ministry. I teach English online. People are asking me, well, how do you do it? Well, that's how I do it. I have a master's of education and I teach English online. And so the money that comes to that pays my bills. And then also whatever I have left goes to helping me get to people's homes. And then, of course, I have people like my sister, Shannon Long 30 on TikTok, and Eddie and other folks and our friends who are willing to jump in and help. So thank you so much. Listen to this. For those of you who do not believe in UFOs, well, you are going to be very interested in this article because there might be something, again, this is pretty interesting. And again, this comes from Higgy Pop website. But I saw this and I thought this is really cool. The Pentagon announces a new task force to counter UFO threat. The Pentagon, again, has announced a new task force to counter a UFO threat. There's been plenty of revelations related to UFOs in 2021 as the subject of strange lights in the sky and alien visitations has become front page news once again. Now, it seems it's not just public interest in UFOs. It's growing this week, and the Department of Defense, the DoD, has announced it has created the Airborne Object Identification and Management Synchronization Group. In a memo released by Deputy Defense Secretary Kathleen Hicks, we are told that this new group will lead the government's effort to detect, identify, and attribute objects of interest, which are formerly known as unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, but more commonly referred to as UFOs. Now, back in the summer, the Pentagon released a highly anticipated report on these UFOs. And one of the revelations in that report was the existence of a U.S. Navy-run Identified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force. Now, as a result of this report, that stated that the military could not explain over 140 cases. Now, I want to say this again. This report states that the military, do you understand what I'm talking about? The military, they couldn't explain over 140 cases of these UFO sightings since 2004. The Department of Defense have said the Navy-led task force would immediately transition to the new group. The new body will synchronize efforts across U.S. government departments to detect, identify, and attribute objects of interest in special use airspace or restricted airspace, and to assess any possible threat to safety of flight and national security. This is crazy. Now, of course, this week's announcement, coupled with June's Pentagon report of UAPs or UFOs, and of April 2020's release of several unclassified videos of unidentified phenomena, all help to fuel the belief that extraterrestrials are visiting Earth and encroaching on U.S. airspace. I tell you what, this to me is pretty. When I read this, I thought I got to share this. Here's the problem. And here's why I say, yeah, you're right, like reopening the X-Files. But here's the issue with this, okay? Here's the issue. I truly believe, because I go to paranormal conferences, I've been all around the United States talking to people, I've met people who are UFO abductees. I've Travis Walton, I've talked about this in The Fire in the Sky, the movie, the book. I've talked to him. I've had the opportunity to speak to him several times. There's something going on that people who are very credible, and again, people don't like when I say this, but there are people who are very, very credible people who are reporting that they are being abducted, and they remember everything, that it was not a dream. They know the difference between a dream and reality. There are people who are police officers, who are military, who are doctors. And these are individuals who would lose everything, all credibility in their field, but they take the leap and they tell their stories. They have nothing to gain. They're not selling a book. They're not doing a movie. They have nothing to gain. And these people tell others about their abductions and what they experience. And in their field, they could lose every sense of credibility. But the fact that they're willing to be brave and talk about these things, there's something, where there's smoke, there's fire. And I do believe there's something going on here. And here's what's frightening to me. And this, and by the way, I got to tell you something, guys. I'm telling you right now, if you don't understand this, then I don't know how to explain it to you, but I am a space nerd. I love space. And so, but I got to tell you this. If you don't understand that if a UFO, if alien life is visiting us, which I believe they are far, and I mean far, more technologically advanced than we are or could even dream of right now. And that is a concern. And I say it's a concern because that means that because they have the ability to, if they want, they have the ability to pretty much do what they want, when they want, and how they want to us. And people say, well, how do you know? Well, look, we've done the same thing to animals. You know, we have definitely, we've taken animals, we have investigated animals, we've done terrible investigation or research on animals for some medical reasons and for cosmetic reasons. But if these UFOs, if these aliens, if they're able to get here and have the technology to get here, then they certainly have the technology to do whatever they want to us. And that is frightening to me, because there are people who experience alien abductions as grays, that they're very small. They're obviously the gray, the typical, I think, an alien that you would think. There are also people who say that there are UFO or alien species that look very much like humans, but they're different. The hair is a little different. The eyes are different, but they're very, very much. And some people even say that they are species between human and alien. The concern that I have is that if, and I say if because I have never been abducted, so I got to say if, but if this is true, which apparently there's obviously a lot of evidence to show that there is, then that is very concerning to me. Because that, again, it implies they are far more technologically advanced than we are. And if they wanted to, they could pretty much obliterate us fairly easily. I mean, if they're coming from a different, obviously, Milky Way galaxy, whatever, I don't know. I'm not a big, I don't particularly like it because it gives us a sense, it makes me feel very vulnerable, you know, but at the same time, I'm not really panicking and worrying about it and losing sleep over it. But I do believe that there's something out there. Now, I will have an individual on. I'm not going to talk yet about it, but I will have an individual on who will talk about their experience being abducted. And so that's coming up eventually. And that's going to be a very, very cool show. So I do think that you're going to really, really enjoy that. Hopefully you will. But for those of you, kind of makes me a little nervous. You know, it does. It certainly, yeah. I'll bring them on, and then we'll have a very, very cool conversation about being abducted, and truly believes that they have been abducted. So I don't know. I would like to know your personal opinions. Wouldn't the Lord intervene with total alien destruction? I believe yes, and I believe that's why it has not happened, because I personally think that if, and I can only say if because I've not been abducted, but if they are here and abducting, they could do far more damage if they chose. But I think there is an intervention. And so that's obviously a very good thing. But I also think that these alien life, if you will, that I do believe there are far too many people who are claiming to have been abducted who are credible, and that is concerning. You know, if it was just one or two people, then you can certainly, we can have a debate on the credibility. But there are so many people out there who are very credible and who have nothing to gain to talk about this. Same thing with Bigfoot. You got to understand, there are game wardens. There are game wardens in Alaska. They're in Alaska. I had them on the show one time. They're in Alaska. They know the animals in Alaska. That's their job. So to identify animals, and they know what a moose is. I mean, these game wardens know the difference between a moose and a bear, but there are game wardens in Alaska who have been very clear and are very adamant that they have seen a Bigfoot. It was bipedal, and they know the difference between a Bigfoot and or a bear and a moose. I mean, if you're a game warden in Alaska and you don't know what a bear looks like or a moose, then you shouldn't be a game warden in Alaska. Just saying. But there are people who are game wardens in Alaska who have been on television shows who have said that they have seen. There are so many things we just don't know. And I think that's why I love the paranormal, because it's the unknown. It's a mystery. It's a mystery. We just simply don't know. There are species that we're finding every single day that we thought they were extinct 500,000 years ago. So that's what's so very, very cool about this is now I do believe that I saw something. It was at the gates of hell. I don't know what it was. I can't identify it and say this is what it was, but at the Gates of Hell Cemetery in Kentucky, we were in the back and it was very late. And I remember going in the very back of the cemetery with other people, and that there was a horrible, like a really bad smell. If you have a dog and you know how their hair gets really wet and sometimes it smells like dog. Now you amplify that times 100, you know what I mean? That's kind of what it smelled like. And we would see, and this was outside of the cemetery, about 15 feet maybe from us, whatever this was. I don't know. I couldn't see. It was dark, but I could see the eyes. The eyes were a very fluorescent green color. They were very fluorescent, very bright green, and they were a pretty good distance apart. And some people say, well, it's an owl. No, because there was no light
shining. We had no light shining, first of all, on this creature. So there was no reflection on the retina. And then it would scrouch down, and then it would raise up again, and then scrouch really, really low again, and then kind of like go behind the tree this way. And I don't know what that thing was. I don't know, but I know we saw it. And the people had found out that we were on air doing live on air, and someone, a young couple, had found out that we were there at the gates, and so they showed up. They went there, and we were talking. It was kind of misty, raining, and we were talking. We were right at the entrance of the gates of Hell Cemetery, and my back was turned on the gates because I was talking to this young couple. This girl let out this loud, blood-curdling scream, and I was literally right in front of her, and that startled me. And I turned around to see what she was looking at. We all saw this massive black shadow of a silhouette. I mean, I wouldn't say it didn't remind me. It didn't have a feeling of a demonic, but this massive, 8-10 feet tall. It was massive. We saw this thing run across the field of the gates of hell, and it was able to run across that, taking very, very few strides. And it was solid. It was not transparent. It was a very solid black object. It went so fast that we couldn't even get the flashlight on it, but we all saw that thing because their headlights were kind of sort of dimming the cemetery, but we all saw it. So I don't know. I just don't know. Monsar says, Bishop, please don't play the Unsolved Mysteries TV theme song. The song still traumatizes me as a kid. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty cool thing. Yeah, we are live, Jimmy. So that's what are you going to do? But listen to this. For those of you who have arachnophobia, you're not going to like this story. You're not going to like it, folks. But I got to tell you, I want to tell you what it is. Okay, so I'm just giving you heads up. Ooh, this is a kind of one of those crazy. This is from HuffPost. Australian Zoo receives a mega spider capable of piercing human fingernails. Ugh, man, I don't know. Officials are planning to milk the massive funnel web spider for venom and send it to a pharmaceutical company that can turn it to anti-venom. Oh, gosh. But anyway, officials at the Australian Reptile Park in Somersby, New South Wales, say the spider is the largest. Oh, that just doesn't. Is the largest funnel web spider the park has ever seen. Its jaws are reported so strong they can pierce human fingernails. An anonymous donor apparently gifted the spider to the park, where it is now being used in an anti-venom program. Officials say they hope the donor comes forward and helps lead to other large spiders. No, I mean, keep them there. Quote, she is unusually large, and if we can get the public to hand in more spiders like her, it will only result in more lives being saved due to the huge amount of venom they can produce. Michael Tate, the park's education officer, told CNN, we are really keen to find out where she came from and hopes to find out more massive spiders like her. The park said it will milk the spider's venom and send it to a pharmaceutical company in Melbourne that will turn it to anti-venom. The park estimates that its anti-venom program saves up to 300 lives per year. Well, that is great. But this little thing better stay away. This big thing better stay. Again, no. I want that to stay far away from me. That's the Australian Zoo. For those of you who want to Google this, the Australian you can say Australian Zoo mega spider. And I don't want any part of that. I'm not a big fan of spiders. I'm going to type in Australian Zoo mega spider, and I want to see this sucker. Just out of curiosity. No. Oh, no. It's like a tarantula. No. Take a look. There you go. For those of you who want to see this thing. Yeah, no. Do you see those fangs in the front? Are you kidding me? No, 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 no. Oh gosh. I am just, yeah. Look at those fangs. Look at that. I mean, the fangs in the front. I mean, you can see how huge those fangs are. I mean, that people saying no. I agree. This thing, no, I wouldn't want any part. I mean, it does. It looks like a huge, huge tarantula with gigantic fangs. But no, they can keep that. Lovely, not yeah, lovely, not yeah, right, not absolutely. Oh my goodness gracious, I would I would not want to be any part of that at all. I just no, that's creepy. That's I made Bill mad. Well, hey, you know, I'm sorry, Bill, but goodness gracious, that's no. Talking about arachnophobia, that would be that's serious stuff. Yeah, and again, yeah, you can go to bishopjameslong.com, bishopjameslong.com, and you can go to the store and you can purchase the items that we have there. You can also go to the course, or it might say class there. And I teach demonology, angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy. I teach online. It's 100% online. You learn at your own pace. And there you go. So again, it's all online, and all that goes to funding the ministry. So again, that's at bishopjameslong.com. Bill says, now, if there was a live one in my house and I would freak out, I would freak out too. I absolutely. I would not like that. I'm not a fan of spiders. I'm just not, I'm not, I'm sorry. I'm just not. Some people love them. Some people love spider. I'm not. And that's just, I'm sorry, but no. No, I don't know about that investigation that you're referring to. By the way, this is an interesting, and we're going to be loading off here pretty soon, but not yet. Still got a little bit of time here. Listen to this, guys. This is from this. I don't know. You explain this to me. This is again from Huffington Post. There are weird and unexpected animal sightings confuse the heck out of suburban Maryland. Listen to this. Quote, I thought my mind was playing tricks on me, said one puzzled resident. Well, the reason is because the station said the animals escaped. There is something going on here. And I'm curious about what you said, but a news station said the animals escaped a private game farm at some point last month, with police in the community about 20 miles from Washington receiving calls about them starting August 31st. Well, you say what are they? Well, animal control officials told NBC Washington station News 4 that zebras in Maryland, zebras are legally owned and had escaped. The three are currently in a field where a feed station had been set up to corral them. Now, of course, they have been caught in a sense, but these creatures, they are zebras. There was one person also who had a tiger. And this person, you're not allowed to have a tiger as a pet in the United States. And he did. And unfortunately, I think it was on TikTok that I saw this. And the tiger escaped. And obviously the police showed up. I think it was a police officer or off-duty police officer, and I believe they had to shoot the tiger. It was, but why? I mean, why would you, if you can't, a tiger? Come on. Well, I understand that, Justin, but I don't know the question. And there's a lot of people who are asking questions, so she can try to ask. Jackie D can try to ask another question. But yeah, I try to get as many questions as I can, but I have a lot of things open, so it's kind of difficult to get every question. So anyway, I don't know. You tell me what you think, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, you're right. In California, you can own a zebra. My gosh, there's people who had some pretty serious animal. There's one. I mean, they had in New York, they recently found I think it was a kid who was just walking, and he looked down and he saw an alligator, and they actually have it filmed. But there's no telling there that you just simply don't know. Oh yeah, Joe Exotic says differently. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, some people say it. Some people say that you should be able to ask any question you want, but I don't know. I think to me it's kind of like when you mess with that kind of stuff and exotic animals, you're never knowing what you're going to get. Never know. Well, I want to because we're kind of wrapping things up, but listen to this, everybody. This is I want to end things with this. This is a really cool article. A man playing the lottery. When I say cool, I mean, well, a man plays the lottery. He shocks the reporter with how he's going to spend his winnings. Now, this is by David Moy from Huffington Post. Listen, I don't know. I don't know, guys. Some people, but listen to this. Quote, well, I'm definitely going to get a new supercharged Mustang with dual exhaust and about 5 kilos of cocaine, and I'll be good to go. Well, he actually said this. He said this. He said this on camera, and she says, "So you like cars?" she asked. And Johnson then bantered with KSLA anchor Doug Warner, who was back in the studio. I don't like cars. I don't know what I would do with all that money. I would have to sit on it and pray on it for a day, figure out what I want to do with it, she said. But Doug, back to you. Now, neither Johnson nor Warner addressed James's comments on air, but Johnson earned praise by the way she handled the encounter. Now, could you just imagine for a moment that you are a reporter and you just ask somebody, how would you spend your millions? Well, I'm just going to go buy a supercharged Mustang and I'll just go get some kilos of cocaine. Now, I'm telling you, folks, this is the world in which we live. You figure this one out, and we'll both be good to go. Now, by the way, listen to this very quick story. We got a couple minutes, folks. I can't make this up. I'm not making this up. Again, Huffington Post: a drunk man reported missing joins search party for himself. Folks, I'm telling you, Behan Mutlah's wife called authorities after he went drinking with a friend. Luckily, he was able to find himself. It's a true story. This is in Turkey, and a scene worthy of a comedy sketch. A Turkish man joined a search party for a missing person, not realizing the individual being pursued was him. See, Beyan Mutlu, 51, went drinking with a friend in a forest in the town of Negol, northwest Turkey, late Tuesday, and his wife reported him missing after he did not return home, and she heard he had walked away from his friend drunk. Well, they sent rescue teams were called to find Mutlu, and who had gone to sleep in the house in the forest. Turkish online news T24 reported Friday. Now, he came across members of the search party in the morning and decided to help them find this missing person. And he realized he was the focus of the search when they began calling his name. And after a while, they said they were looking for Beyan Mutlu. T24 quoted him as saying, "I broke into a cold sweat when I heard my name. I told them I was Beyan Mutlu, but they continued to search." And Mutlu continued, "They didn't believe me. The truth came out when my friend Mesut saw me." Mutlu said he was part of the search for a team for more than a half an hour. What are you going to do? All right, my friends, I want to thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate all of you. Remember, as I always tell you, that your value does not decrease based on someone's inability to see your worth. You are priceless, priceless, priceless. And that don't let anyone convince you otherwise. God bless you guys and have a beautiful, beautiful evening. Back to you, Bill, in the studio. The Sacred Division has been brought to you by Bishop Long's online paranormal course. Learn demonology, angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy. It's 100% online, and you learn at your own pace. Please go to www.bishopjameslong.com and click on the paranormal course link.